Hey, Outpost players. I thought I would make a video on my testing I've been doing. This is to figure out what would be the best booster Zen mods to add to my main gun abilities. Now, the abilities I've mostly settled on. I like the heavy shot. I like Gale. I like Chain. Electro feels decent. There's some other choices for that as well. But right now, I'm trying to slot out the best boosters for game. Or Chain, sorry, not Gale. We read over Chain here, which the Chain Morph. It's an interesting one. It hits a target continuously, cause a random enemy in the vicinity to take high damage. The way this works is you shoot at line of sight hit scan a Tesla coil. So where your gun is pointing, a little Tesla coil spawns there. When a very large area around this Tesla coil, it's roughly 10 mechs, medium mechs in diameter. A medium mech is about 3 meters, so about 30 meters in diameter, maybe a little less. It will randomly strike an enemy. These lightning strikes that it calls down that hit the enemies can both hit weak points and can hit critical strike. This is very important because you can maximize both of those stats as well as the boosters to boost the effective chain to extreme damages. Now let me start by right now going ahead and removing all the boosters so we get to see with my base gear the current average damage of this. Now there are 3 boosters I know I'm more or less sticking on here, but the rest will be something we discover together. I typically use lightning, electric ammo for my type of ammo. It's very easy to carry indefinitely in the game. Go ahead and move. Well, let's shoot these guys right now. At the very beginning. Now, this shows my base stats. Attack is 7,256. Crit chance is 50. Right now I don't have anything extra added to it. And my crit bonus, my do crit, is 193%. Weak point bonus, 226%. These 3 are very important stats when it comes to your overall DPS output. Now, what I'm going to do is shoot right here, right in the middle as best as I can. Now, I do have a turbine barrel that does add additional damage to my shot. It will affect every strike on chain to all the enemies. Now, the way chain works, as you see in the bottom, by default, it has 75 ammo cost and has a 15-second cooldown. It's the bottom right there. It'll last for 9 seconds, doing 2 strikes per second by default. Gives a total of 18 strikes. I'll go ahead and count those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 2 strikes per second for 9 seconds gives you 18 strikes. We look up here, the damage done there was 250,000. That's actually almost a non-crit. There wasn't really that many criticals in there. You can tell a critical because when the damage pops up to the left side of the damage number will be like this little fire emblem symbol. Hits a weak point, you get to see a little crosshairs target symbol instead to the left, as well as a bigger number. Go ahead and reset the target. We'll do it again, close, and then I'll start moving it back. I'll hit the back side and make sure that there's no real difference in damage fall off, regardless of how far back. 272,000. There was a critical strike in there. Damage fluctuations, which gives us to that. Most abilities in this game do not have any form of damage fluctuation, as long as they're not explosion. Okay, it's all the way back. Go ahead and reset the target. And lob one out there again. Not expecting any damage fall off because the damage is originating at the spot where that little Tesla coil is that breaks apart at the end. So again, about 250 with no crits. And my current setup. 260. $290. I think when I was doing this earlier, I barely got above 300. I think the highest I hit was 312. So there it gives you the range. More crits or weak point hits, you'll get up there. This is the base damage with my current setup for the chain attack Tesla coil. Very respectable. Go ahead and return to base. We'll slot in probably the most damaging upgrade that we can get on Tesla coil. That's because it has a very strange interaction with this booster. All the way at the bottom here, that is specifically Mighty Swing 2. It's a purple mod at its highest, so it doesn't go higher than that. Read this mod, goes against enemies with full hit points. They are guaranteed to crit with slightly increased crit damage. Now, the way this for some reason works with chain, as long as you shoot it at a target that has full hit points and all the targets in the vicinity, it'll crit on every hit, regardless. Doesn't matter if it hits the same target more than once, as long as the first time it goes off, there's a target it could target that has at full hit points, everything will crit. This gives a significant boost to the damage output. We'll go ahead and see that right now. Most other boosts, it only hits even other AoE attacks. It only affects the first one while the target is at 100%. If the AoE attack does criticals. Very few AoE attacks in this game do critical hits. That's because explosion damage is the majority of critical AoE attacks in this game. Explosion damage is not critical. They don't allow criticals or weak point hits. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this, switch over to electric ammo nearby. I'm not expecting any difference between short and long distance. In terms of damage, you can already see that ramping up. All those little crit hits, every single attack. You can hit the same target. 1 million damage, whereas before I was going between 250 and 300, about 1 million. So we're talking a 4 times increase. And that's because, if you look at my character sheet, button, 200% roughly. It's about a 4 times increase is what it should be. But that would be to a single shot. But this is doing it all at once, so even though it's over a given spread, it still gives it to me for every hit. That's why it works this way. Go ahead and move this away all the way out. Again, I don't expect any damage drop off or fall off. This is important because one of the reset the targets. One of the boosts that we're going to try is based off of distance. All right, 914. Seeing all those big crit hits. $64. I believe the crit icon overrides the weak point icon. Could be wrong. Unless I missed pass and wasn't hitting one of them. Alright, so ranges roughly between 940 to a little over 1 million, about 4 times damage. So go ahead and return back to base. Always returns you back to the medical center. Why, I don't know. Alright, remove. We'll go ahead and go with the second one. It's fairly interesting, and that is going to be multiplier. Now, multiplier is interesting. Bullets deal more damage and gains increased efficiency the further it travels. So this is that one I was mentioning just a moment ago, where distance traveled, so how close the target is going to actually affect the DPS damage output.
Please confirm
My ability here. Now, start really close. Now, the way that the efficiency works for Chain and many other of the AoE abilities, depends specifically the tick-based ones, is it increases the tick rate amount. So right now we are ticking at 2 ticks per second for 9 seconds. That's going to increase now from a little over 2. It's not quite 3. We're not getting, but it's going to be close. For some reason it's 26 versus 27. Last time I counted, but I'll count again. Could be wrong. Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, right back. 24. If you noticed, I forgot to switch over to electric ammo. So the damage was significantly less than it should have been. Reset the target. Now if I look, I'm on electro ammo. Turn the upright. Let's try this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24 hits. That's because it's close at us. It goes, again, more ticks is going to go further back because it's going to have more efficiency the further this goes out. So we got 450,000 damage here. A significant increase. The extra ticks plus the extra damage from multiplier. Before we're looking at 400 or 250 to 300,000, 450. Do one more at close range here. The electric ammo. Just the correct ammo for this comparison. Let's stick with the normal kinetic ammo. Just wait for it to get done. 378. One more, just even it out to 3. Should see that little Tesla coil there. And that one went up to 471. So 350 on the low end, 470 on the high end. Looks like that's what we're going with. Okay, go ahead and reset the target and then move these all the way back. Now, at the closest, they're about 10 yards out. You get 4 pushes. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so you get pushing about 50 meters away, roughly. Let's shoot one down range. The count as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. 26 now instead of 24. And our damage has gone up as well. Now we're at the 560,000. Go ahead and do it a couple more times. 432. Almost 560. Like I said, there's some variance, especially with the crit strikes in here. Just a little bit of variance to the ability itself. You see him hitting from 11,000 to 28,000 without crit, or even 8,000 or 9,000. 500,000. The last one here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to back up even further and shoot. Shouldn't be any difference because I think this is roughly the max range that multiplier works at. Anything beyond this is not going to give you anything more. So target. Alrighty, let's give this a try. You see, still hitting lower numbers on occasion. Doesn't register the shot because I shot outside this yellow line here. Still keeps track of the damage. A little higher. We'll give it another count as well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Yep, still got 26. So the efficiency doesn't go up, but it does look like the damage multiplier goes up some additional amount because I'm hitting pretty hard here now. Go even further, see if I can. Oh, can't go any. There's that hard wall here. Missed it. There's a, like I said, there's some weird variance in here. So 462, or I'll hit 680 as well. I don't know if it's being airborne that's messing with that. It should be the same back wall I was on, even where I placed it at. The amount of strikes hasn't increased when I walk back there though. It's still 26. Still under. So like I said, I just might have gotten like with some extra critical strikes from that one I shot back there initially to hit that 600,000 plus. It's still being more consistent again at the 500,000, which is where I was at that line versus all the way back at that wall for the last two. So that concludes the testing with that one. So I'm getting roughly double damage at max range. Another one that will double your damage. Now, multiplier does not stack, unfortunately. Neither does Mighty Swing. So having another multiplier or another Mighty Swing after the first one will add nothing. However, this one can stack afterwards, and that is chain. The only problem with chain is, as you saw it increase, or if you were paying attention, you didn't know this, the ammo cost as well as the firing interval cooldown. Hover over it again, it's going to add another 52 ammo costs for my shots, as well as 14 seconds. This is really a 20.1, so like I said, if I remove this, it's back 20.1. 75. That's a significant amount. So stacking a lot of chains on here, it can be very problematic, especially if it goes over 180, which is the standard amount that most of the red guns have. So at which point you're going to only be able to fire it in the free fire mode of one of the operatives, such as Faye or the Tiger Squad operatives. So let's go ahead and go to the shooting range. With chain morph using the chain boost. The way the chain boost does is it basically doubles your shot, whatever it is.
Please confirm your operatives.
Doesn't affect every ability in the game, but affects the large majority of them. And it has other interactions with things like electric ammo specifically. because electric ammo, one of it does is all the elemental ammo has what's called elemental buildup or stacks. Your targets have a specific resistance. Once the stacks reaches the threshold of the resistance of the target, then a special effect of that elemental ammo goes off. In the case of, for example, cryo ammo, which is the cold ammo, every stack increases a slow duration effect upon the target. Once it reaches the threshold, it'll actually freeze the target. Pyro ammo builds a stack of heat, which I believe slows the target, but once it reaches the max stacks, it causes a dot burning damage. Electric ammo staggers the target, and once it reaches the max effect, does a chain little split off AoE attack with enough elemental buildup. That chain AoE attack can be affected by the chain boosters. So instead of hitting chain off one attack, things chain off two. So it's one of these things where they all synergize together. And that's what we're going to look at here. I'm not going to go ahead and move this out because we've already showed that testing. Anything with multiplier, for the most part, is not going to have a problem with distance. So I'm just going to shoot right here. So let's measure that out. With chain. As you look here, you actually seen two come down at the same time with two different targets before, whereas before was hitting one target at a time. It literally doubled up my DPS from the 250-300 range to 610 range. Go ahead and reset it. So that's what chain does. It doubles the output of whatever you're doing. But it also increases the ammo cost and that firing interval. So this time, if you notice, I still had to wait. The amount of ticks is still the same, in which case would be 2 ticks per 9 seconds, so 18 ticks, but the damage is literally double because it's hitting twice per tick. Get my little cooldown thing, speed this up, so do one more. And these 3 are the core boosters for the chain attack. More ability, whatever I call it. They all stack. So it literally doubles. Mighty Swing, I get 4 times the amount with my current crit bonus. With the multiplier, I get double the damage if I shoot far enough. And with Chain, I get double the damage. So my base of 250 to 300,000, double up to, or quadruple up to roughly 1 million. Double up again to 2 million, double up again for 4 million if I stick all of them on there and shoot at max range. That's how it works for total damage. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the base. Now, there are a few lesser known, or I should say not lesser known, but damage boosts to grab. Some of them only work in specific ways. So one of them would be, it's an interesting one, Cascade, which does a lot of damage when a single round costs more than 120. This could be easily achieved with the chain. It does give a good damage boost, but there's other damage boosts we're going to test as well. So release just increases the radius, and there's a few others that increase the radius. Not a big deal. Damage rotor does increase damage, also reduces the firing interval. Now, by 2 seconds when I'm at 20 seconds, but if I have a chain on, still does 2 seconds. Based off the base amount. It's 10% of the base amount, not the actual the current amount. Let's start with the next biggest increase I know, which is Condense. Now Condense, again, massively increases the damage, gives a good damage boost, but it increases the cost, the ammo cost of the shot. You go ahead and put this on and go to shooting range. So there is a trade-off for this one. The other two straight damage boosts are Damage Rotor and Strong. Neither one of them have a negative trade-off. Damage rotor increases at a specific amount, the least of the three, but it does increase fire interval, which can increase DPS overall. Go ahead and shoot this with condensed. You already know what the baseline is. That was pretty terrible. Didn't add much of anything, did it? Now these I haven't specifically tested what they're adding, and right now it doesn't look like condensed is adding anything. It's supposed to. I'm not seeing any extra damage numbers. Let's do one more try. It doesn't. That's a new one on me. If anything, it looks like it says reduced damage. Oh wait, I forgot I'm not on electric ammo. Let's try that again with the right ammo type. I'm sure someone caught that. I was watching the video and following along. There we go. Those are numbers I'm expecting to see. I understand this is supposed to be roughly a 40 or 45% damage increase, and that looks right in line with that. 71. $47, which isn't that much. Which, if we're looking at the non-crit 250, 372 is still calculator. %, roughly. Crits goes higher, so yep, looks to be roughly 45 to 50% damage boost on condensed. Make sure I remember to do the electric ammo, so I keep the tests all fair and even, comparable with each other. Strong. Now there are some utility boost xens to stick on. Pull would be an example of one where it pulls your targets in. This is very useful for some AoE abilities, not as much for chain. Why? Because chain tends to one-shot most things, so it doesn't need to worry about pulling them in. Now, the good thing about it is it pulls them all in no matter which target is hit, as long as it's within the AoE, which is very nice. Oops, forgot to change. That's don't count. Now, if you notice on this, I got actually a slightly faster time because of my core gun takes off 25%. So instead of a 20-second cooldown, I have a 15-second cooldown. So 335, strong didn't seem to be all that much more. Just comparing it to the 250, let's do a few hits. that is on the lower side. $300. Wow, that might be on the lower side. $26. $50, so we're getting between 300 and 360. I'll make sure what the average is before I go cross compare it to the low points of the lowest point average of 250. Alright. Looks about 310 is what I'm going to give it. Seems about a 25% increase for a strong 4. So I think it's on par with what others have said. Now we're not worried about critical strikes here. It's kind of a useless ability if you have Mighty Swing. Unless you're fighting something like a boss, which case after you do your initial damage, you're not doing enough to, or using a lower damage per shot ability. Critical strike might be better than Mighty Swing, but when you're using high damage shots and trying to do one attack, one kill, Mighty Swing is hard to beat. So we did strong. Let's do damage rotor. We'll also try elemental rotor, which does elemental damage extra. Since we're going to be using electric ammo, it's going to have more of an effect.
Please confirm your operatives.
Select the elemental electric ammo. And toss out a damage rotor. Damage just increases by 310. Good on, we hit 360. Strong. Might be a few more percent. Right now, so equal around 25%. 20. It's down to 300. Okay. Show close. $284. So looking to be closer to 20% boost, I'm assuming, which is be online with a slightly less damage boost than the strong, but you do make up for that with the 2 seconds off, which is a good 10% off the base amount. So, which does add to DPS. Overall, both are very good, strong choices for most setups. When you get down to these longer ones, 10% can be a pretty big significant boost in DPS overall. Not having to wait those extra few seconds can make a difference, especially if you stack a few of them. Always a viable alternative. Now, there's some of these fun ones. Let's do the elemental rotor. Significant It says elemental buildup. So this is a little bit different. So instead of doing a straight bonus damage, this is going to build up those stacks faster, which should make the chain from element for the lightning attack, the extra one from electric ammo, hit extra targets. See how much of a actual damage boost this adds. Still gives it the 10% off, which is very nice.
Please confirm your operatives.
What's nice is that 2 seconds comes after my core gun. So my core gun takes off 25%. Anything that's over 8 seconds. So I go from 20 to 15, and I take this extra 20% after that. I guess, yeah, 1.5 seconds off of 15. So, go ahead and fire this off with the elemental. Ah, forgot the chain, so you're going to see terrible damage right now. $300. $26. Should be roughly the same amount of damage increase as the damage rotor. $250. $265. A little less overall. Under 3. So I had several under 3 and closer to 250. And I did have the damage order. So maybe an out for us. Out 250. So elemental rotor, not quite as good. Pursuit really doesn't work too well because targeting a weakness off the bat with it is very hard to do with chain, so it really doesn't add much, if anything. Advanced does add efficiency, which should increase the amount of ticks we get, but it doesn't have any range. So let's go ahead and stick that on there. Now, we can go ahead and count this up. Should equal the same amount as multiplier did at max range. Which should give us 26 strikes, regardless at close or max range. But it won't give the extra damage boost that multiplier also gives. Go ahead and do that by counting this here. Electric ammo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. I'm saying 26. Said pretty good damage increase, but it's not quite as good as multiplier, but it does give you the extra ticks here. So at short distances, because you get the extra ticks here, despite the multiplier giving you a little bit extra boost, they're going to be roughly on par even with each other at close range. It's not till you get to max range of little over 40, 50 yards out, that multiplier is going to pull ahead of advance. It will pull ahead of advance, but if you find yourself always in close range or using abilities in close range, there's not going to be much difference between the two. Reset the target. Show that again. This one I'm not going to do as many attacks with. The main focus point now it does to 26 ticks, 450. Like I said, roughly what we were seeing before, multiplier. In terms of total damage output. But because multiplier does increase the further you do go out, if you are looking to do long distance touching attacks with this, overall multipliers would be better. It'd be shorter distance, especially if you're ridiculously short point blank, then the advance will probably just slightly edged out. I'm not going to worry about these utility recoveries, they're decent. Detonate does increase the area in which the lightning strikes can occur. If the enemies are very spread out, it could help out with DPS, but generally speaking, chain is so far that the way the game has enemies approach you, they're either singles or ones or twosies, so it's going to hit them all, or they come in a column from a beacon that drops down. So when the space pods drop down and start spawning on enemies, they all walk into a column that's about 4 or 5 scorpions wide. Chains could hit all of it. So that's not a big deal. Not worried about backstab. It does more damage behind, but we're not going from behind. I could hop over them to show them, but this is not quite as useful for chain the way it works. Now, Torment, again, you have to hit the weakness, very hard to target off the top before piercing. Surprise does more damage to enemies above. It does work with chain. Let's go ahead and toss that on there and look at what that does. If I remember right.
Please confirm your operatives.
Now, the reason surprise would be a good alternative potentially here is chain tends to one-shot most things from the start, so having more one-shot ability, I guess, is not bad. Switch the electric ammo. Should be around 25% if I remember right, on par with a strong 4, which is why I don't typically take it, because it requires that 80% above with most abilities. You might as well just stick a strong 4 on there to do the same thing. A few so you can see it. But that's on the lower side, wow. May not be affecting it much at all, it seems like. Smack it right in the face. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, that just might be the regular crits that were getting up to 300 before. This is consistently lower, so I don't know if surprise actually works with this. I'm leaning towards not. If I get another 250-ish, yeah, I'm thinking this is not working. Okay, surprise is out. Don't use it with chain. Might have a small increase on the first target hit, but doesn't seem to continue that pattern throughout the rest of it. That's the one we could try as well. Energy efficiency increases the damage of the electric elements. We're using electric ammo. This should work with chain. And any other ability we use electric ammo for.
Please confirm your operatives.
The only problem is this has a condition of being only electric. So if you end up picking up regular ammo for whatever reason, it will not have an effect. Or should not. .345, good start. $18. Again, 326, or sorry, 345, 326, 318. Looking like a 25 to 30% increase on par with the strong 4. Yep. Might be slightly better than a strong 4, but roughly about the same. But strong 4 has no conditional. But if that's what you got, it definitely can be used. Surprised it doesn't work. Elemental rotor didn't do much. Battery we're not worried about. Apex Predator. Now this is an interesting one because this should work. I've had it work, but you'll see damage numbers pop up that are not purple like the electric ammo damage.
Please confirm your operatives.
Switch to electric, and you'll see these gray numbers pop up. Despite it, you see lots of them popping through. Significant damage increase with Apex. Significant, because it carries through. Go ahead and reset the target, and do that again. Four to 5 times increase again. So another one that we're going to want to put on our chain here. Last showing. Really good one to take. But again, this, I believe, only stacks with the first one. I haven't tried to see if additional ones of these stack. I'll try this afterwards. See if that happens or not. 1.2 million. Apex Predator 2. Last version of it is. Going in there with 2. I skipped over just to make the video a little shorter. The other ones where I try and double them up, I know which ones do double up and don't from some of the other previous ones we've tested already. I had not tested it with Apex. I'm curious to see what the result will be. Electric to Apex. That gave us potentially more like 200,000, 200, 300,000. Not as big of a jump as the first one. Six million, so it is stacking. Just not a double stack. So the question is going to be, how much extra is this stack of this Apex Predator worth in relation to the other damage boosting modifiers? Okay. That was an enlightening test. So it does have some ability to stack with the Apex. Now, I believe that is most of what I want to throw in here. I believe that QC, the close quarters combat, does not work. You can try that, whereas multiplier does work based off of distance. Supposedly this does not. We'll go ahead and put that on to try it out just to make sure.
Please confirm your operatives.
And then I'm going to go for point blank range. Right here over the counter. Oh. Switch to the correct shot. Switch to the correct ammo. $269. Does not look like it is. I want to check out. Could it be anything? Doesn't look like it's working at all. I didn't reset, so we're looking at the bottom. Let's go ahead. It's 237. This is actually less. Set. There we go. Yep, I'm pretty sure that this adds nothing to it. I would expect to see over 300,000 a couple times if it added a damage boost. Let's see that yet. Nope, definitely not. So it looks like close quarters combat is still bugged and does nothing in this game. Checkmate, I believe, only works when the target is already low. Chain tends to one-shot, so this is mostly a useless boost. It's great for low damage attacks, though, or stuff that ramps up. Inferno would be a great example of a rampant attack. Thrifty does reduce ammo cost, which can be useful. Trigger finger does reduce it by 2 seconds, but you get that out of damage rotor, so trigger finger is not as useful as damage rotor, because damage rotor also has damage. Don't have torments, not worry about mend. Now, light strike does work, I believe, but I don't think it adds much to this. Just want to make sure there's nothing else on this after this. Oh, we do have a entangled state would be the other one that could potentially add some additional damage. We want to test to see how much it's doing. After that, the last one would be Cascade and see how much this adds. It's a little harder to do because I have to add another Zen boost first. So you chain. You know what chain is doing. Double it up, and then we throw on Cascade to see how much it adds after the chain. Let's go ahead. And look at light strikes.
Please confirm your operatives.
I believe this should only work with weapons that have damage fall off, though. So this may not work with chain at all. Yep, I don't think it's gonna work with chain. Nope, we're sticking around 250, so it doesn't seem to be adding anything. No point in trying that again. I know I'm speeding up my test here. If I want to be more thorough, I should do more, but also have to. This is getting to be a long video on just this one. Last one was that other green elemental entangled state, I should say. Put it on here again with the light strikes. I don't believe it's going to affect it, but because there's no damage fall off.
Please confirm your operatives.
Show my ammo. Toss aside. Besides a couple of crits in there, it didn't look like it was going to make it. Maybe that is on the lower end. Don't believe this is going to affect it at all. Okay, never mind. Maybe it did. 263. Try it one more time with it. I did see an extra jump back, so it is hitting the extra targets. For 415. I'm not sure if that's enough. I'm seeing that those 415 damage just popping up. Those are the extra light strikes hitting the other targets. Now, since this damage fall off base, it should be less the more I go away. Yeah, 415 still. Setting 2 extra targets for 415. It is extra damage, but at this point it seems like less than 10%. So I'm going to go ahead and call it on this. Not worth using. Light strike setup though could be useful, but again, that's a very close quarters combat setup. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to chain and pull down cascade on the other one. Cascade here. Increase damage when having more than 120. Condense doesn't give us enough. Chain does. And since we know what chain is a baseline of 500 to 600,000, because it doubles up our 250 to 300,000. Kind of rough. 250, I think, is the baseline with no crits. So let's see how much percentage this is going to be adding. We have cascade for 120, over 120. I don't believe it adds even more damage based off how much over 120. I can test that as well. Electric. I don't know why I'm hopping over. About 25%, well, maybe again. Which, if that puts it on par with strong. And elemental affinity, electric affinity. That'd be worth. Lower side, there we go. I've angled that wrong. And it doesn't seem to be adding much. Seems to be on par with the despite how it mentions its name being greatly increases, it doesn't seem to be much more than strong. She says increases. The wrong button. It is an increase. All right. I may not have waited for the turbine to come up on that last one. So let's put this all together. See what kind of damage we can do. We know we want Mighty Swing, Apex Predator, Chain, and Multiplier. Now, the differences after this, we want to bring down ammo costs, cooldown costs, or go for straight damage with Strongs, or condensed for more damage, but more ammo cost. I think I would prefer the reduced firing interval. So I'm going to go with damage rotors. And here is my setup for chain for the moment. Go to shooting range and try out this damage. See what it looks like. Since we have multiplier in here, we'll go for max range, so we can go with the maximum damage potential output we can get is. Electric ammo. Leave them away. This back wall. And see what happens. Oh, wrong attack. I didn't see that. I gotta reset the counter. Alright, turbine is up. And look at those damage numbers fly. Darn near 5 million. Probably a little bit higher if I switched over to condensed. Go ahead and do another one of those. Seems to be a lot less this time. But the apex, the problem is, I've noticed this before. When you start doing too much damage, this kind of bugs out. It only really works on the first one because these guys are technically dead. And when you do the reset, they don't, for some reason, go back to full. So I don't think the apex predator is quite working right. I've had this issue where it shows every other shot after that first one is going to be significantly lower when you start busting around the 2 million damage, you start instantly killing all these targets. Also give them placement. Oops, like that's a bad shot placement. See, it's not counting some of the damage ticks. That's what's happening. I don't know why it does that. It's unfortunately, it only does on the first one, counts them all. This is just a bug with this. If I stay up here, you'll see the same thing. It's hard to tell right now because it's moving up so fast, but you'll see times its damage is actually going off, and it's not counting it up above. So we're probably never get above 2 million much because of this. We're getting about half the damage ticks counted at a minimum. If I was to leave, come back and redo it, sure I'll be busting out. That bigger number. Again, this is a bug I've noticed when you go to a point where your gun finally destroys all the targets,
Confirm your operatives.
or is capable. Then they don't get measured correctly afterwards. Here, notice the damage numbers aren't really stopping the same way. Or busting that 4 million. So, there's my video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed your journey through testing this out. To have some big numbers pop up from one ability. Take care.